Hello, Met fans. Welcome to the Shea podcast, episode 7. We have a very special show for you this evening. It is our 2025 season preview and predictions. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 7 of the Shea podcast. We have a very special show this evening. It is our 2025 season preview and prediction show. Tonight, we have very special guest, Brady, Met News on Instagram, and our boy returning once again, Mr. James Baerga. What's up, fellas? What's going on?
Doing good.
What up? We got we've been looking forward to this for a while. We tried to get a night where finally all four of us could get on together.
Yeah, absolutely. And just so everybody knows, the four of us have been doing this show since COVID in 2020. We've been doing this show every year live on Instagram. And for the first time, we're taking it over to YouTube and all social media platforms. Our engagement during the show is usually very good. So we hope that continues again. So we're looking forward to have a great show this evening. We have a lot of topics to discuss and a lot of different fun activities to do with the fellas. So we can jump into it, and we'll start off with our first topic. Talking about the opening day roster, and let's talk about the team in general. So yesterday was our final spring training game. It ended off on a positive note, and then we also got our first idea of who made the team and who didn't make the team. So, Brady, would you like to give an update a little bit on some of those final roster spots and what positions are still up for grabs?
I know they're still looking at relievers. They haven't finalized anything yet. I'll just the obvious guys, the big bats and the big starters. But in terms of the bullpen, it's still up for grabs. I know they sent down Braziman to AAA. Nunez is down to AAA just to get vamped up because he's been injured. So they're waiting to get him at 100%. But aside from that, though, I think they're just making finishing touches. I hope Max Kranick will be a guy who's going to be in the bullpen. He looked phenomenal this spring, so he's definitely on the top of my chart to put him in the pen. Other than that, though, we're going to hear the finalization probably tomorrow.
Vinny, Brady mentioned Kranick, in with an opportunity to get one of those final roster spots. Who would you rather see? Would you rather see Kranick get the call up, or would you rather see Braziman get the call?
I want to see Kranick. I feel like we saw Braziman a little bit last year, and his stuff is electric, but he goes into these stretches where he's all over the place. And on a pitching staff last year that led the world in walks, I want a little more consistency of guys who are going to attack the strike zone. I don't want guys coming in late in the game, close games, putting guys on without them even swinging the bat. So I definitely would rather see Kranick. If Braziman finds it, he's a good piece to bring up at any point in the season. He could be a strikeout guy. But I definitely want to see Kranick over Braziman.
James, thoughts?
It's been awesome this spring. Obviously, Nunez is going to be up. We got to just make sure he's fully there. He's a big piece of this bullpen this year. We really missed him down the stretch last season. Other than that, I'm looking forward to this bullpen. The bullpen looks really good. The only question, obviously, is the back end. Edwin Diaz scares me a little bit. We saw what we saw last year. It's walk, strikeout. Guys are stealing all over him. So that's the thing that concerns me a little bit is him. But, I hope, obviously, he was coming off the injury. It was his first year back. He was coming back from the injury. So hopefully this year he finds it and he goes back to the Edwin Diaz we all know that he can be.
Yeah, that's a good point. James, I know you mentioned something kind of a hot take. We'll get to a little bit later about Edwin Diaz. But, it's definitely interesting to see how he continues with his ways. We saw it here in spring training. He continues to put guys on base. He continues to give up, hits early in the inning. So that'll definitely be something we speak about a little bit later in the show. Jumping to the next topic, just quickly, we'll give a little bit of an injury update. Obviously, we know that McNeil is still on the IL. We know the two starters, Minaya and Montas, are still, sidelined on the IL. But overall, and then obviously, of course, Frankie Alvarez on the IL. So those are the four big names that we were hoping would be ready to go for opening day, but they won't be. So that kind of covers it from the injury standpoint. Am I missing anybody? Did I miss anybody from that take?
You said McNeil.
I said McNeil.
I'm sorry,
yeah,
I didn't hear you. But
right.
Listen, I'm back. The McNeil one, I think actually we speak about this all the time. The four of us in our text. The McNeil one, I think, opened the door.
Yeah, I was thinking. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the way he's played this spring, even if he carries a little bit of it into the regular season, that little crack in the door, Beatty's ready to kick it open and not give that spot back. And I'm really hoping he does because Beatty feels like an easy guy to root for. And it'd be nice to have, the Vientos did it last year. Alvarez did it the year prior. If it could be Beatty this year, then now they're starting to look like an even younger team, and it's really exciting to go in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely going to be something that, we keep a very close eye on as the beginning of the year comes. Brady, do you think that Brett Brady has earned his shot here in spring training?
I mean, you know my thoughts on him. I mean, he's definitely earned it. I mean, he's hit over 300. I think he's got 4 or 5 spring home runs, OPS over 1,000. And like Vinny said, it opened the door for him to take second base with McNeil injured. So yeah, I mean, he should be the starting second baseman. I think after the report came yesterday that they're looking for another bat, they don't trust Acuna yet. I think he's too young, not enough experience, not enough at bats, given his last year experience in the league. But yeah, I mean, you got to give it to Beatty. He's had a great spring, and like you said, he's part of the young contribution. So yeah, let him run with it for a little bit.
All right, so that's a little bit of an update on the injury front.
No, I just want to. I'm sorry to cut you off. I just want to ask James his opinion on something.
Sure.
James, do you think that there's anything to, or would you be worried about at all with the whole Lindor comments on Acuna? He seems disinterested with
Plays
parties and spring training.
Yeah, all right. So I talked about this with Acuna just about last year. I've said it throughout the offseason. There's so many guys that they get a full major league spring training. They get to be around those major leaguers. They get to face other major leaguers in spring training, and all they want to do at that point is just go to the major leagues, play on that team, play on the big stage, play in front of all thousands of fans at Citi Field or whatever, just any other stadium, whatever. So I think Acuna gets a taste of that, and then he goes down to the minors, and he doesn't want to be there. He wants to be on the big stage. He wants to be playing against the best. And I could see why, like, there's a lot of times where guys do that. They get the full spring training, they start in the minors, and they struggle. And then we look at it like, why would we call this guy up? He's struggling. There's no reason to call him up. But, you call him up, and then he plays better in the major leagues because he got that fire under him and he wants to be there. So I definitely could see a reason why, because I've heard stories from other major leaguers. For example, I know Ian Kinsler, that happened with him. Like, he played a full spring training. He played great. And then he got sent down to the minors to start the season. He struggled, but they called him up, and look at how good his career ended up being. So I see why, because I hear stories about it, but I do feel like Acuna can definitely be a good contributor to this team. Hopefully this year, because who knows, we have so many roster spots, like just, obviously McNeil getting hurt, and now Beatty coming in and doing what he did. So we'll see what he does in the minors. And me personally, I'm not going to take much from it, because I think, like I said, I think he's ready to play in the major leagues.
All right. Yeah, I was just interested because that was kind of a story recently that came out with Lindor kind of, I guess, calling him out. And as the captain, for him to notice that, I wanted to know what you thought about it.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine.
And I think that's a great segue to our next topic and what we think the starting lineup's going to be on opening day. Vin, I know you and I had talked about this a little bit on one of our episodes earlier in the offseason, but now that we have Brady and James here with us, it'll be interesting to see what their takes are on the opening lineup. So I'm going to pass on this topic, but I want to hear the fellas' perspective on the opening day lineup. So what do we think? What are we looking to see on opening day?
So I saw the lineup that we had versus the Yankees. I think that basically simulates what we're going to see, other than the fact that we're facing Framber Valdez on Thursday. So you'll see Marte in there over Winker, I think. And then I really am interested I like what they're doing 4-5. You're going to have Nimmo fourth against the righties and Vientos fifth versus the righties, and you're going to flip them versus the lefties. So we'll see. Obviously, that's how we faced Stroman the other day. So you had Nimmo fourth, Vientos fifth. We're going to face a lefty on Thursday, so I think Vientos is going to be fourth, Nimmo's going to be fifth. I do like what they're doing, and you have 1, 2, 3. You have your big guys, so it's similar to like what the Dodgers are doing. The Dodgers have Mookie or Ohtani, Mookie, Freeman. We're going to go with our big 3 guys, and then the rest of the lineup's just going to fill out. Obviously, no Alvarez, so you got Terrens in there, and Siri in the 9-hole. He gets on base. Hopefully, he get on first, and he can run. But I'm interested in that 4-5. I like what we're doing 1, 2, 3. And then the rest of the lineup I think it's a good line. It's a great lineup. I really believe this lineup is improved, obviously, with the addition of Soto. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Brady?
You want to go next, Brady?
Yeah, I'll go. Just to echo what James said. Well, my early perception was I actually had my lineup was to have Vientos third and then Alonso fourth. But that was my early perception. And throughout spring training, they mixed around with a couple of lineups. And what James said is they're going to stick with Nimmo and going back and forth. So I'm good with that. The other thing I want to mention, too, is I like the platoon options. Is we have Winker and Marte. We're going to go back and forth. Then you have Siri and Taylor. And my question to you guys is, for opening day, I'm assuming Jose Siri is going to be the guy to get the start, which I like him better over Taylor. I think he's faster, better glove, probably similar bat. Maybe the upper edge goes to Taylor. But I guess I'll ask Vin that. Do you expect to see Siri or Taylor on the lineup on Thursday?
I think it's going to be Siri. I think the way Siri came out of the gate this spring opened eyes with the Mets. He has that 20 to 25 home run potential. And if you could get that out of the bottom of the order guy who plays elite level defense in center field, and that's not a knock on Taylor because we all saw how good defensively he is. But I think now with Siri coming over and his potential, I think that Taylor off the bench as the fourth outfielder, and then he brings a lot of value giving Nimmo a rest in left field late in games. So I would go with Siri in center field. To start the year, I'd give him the first shot. With James bringing up Alvarez being hurt, in my predicted lineup, I actually bumped Siri up to 8, and I hit Torrens 9. I'll just run it down real quick. If I was right in the lineup, I would have Lindor, Soto, Vientos, Alonso, Nimmo, and then my DH platoon with Marte, Winker, Beatty, Siri, and Torrens. That's how I would write the lineup, but I guess we'll see what they go with.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see how Carlos goes ahead and attacks Valdez on day one. I think we can all agree that Marte will probably be the DH opening day facing Valdez, so it's going to be interesting to see. It'll also be interesting to see if they allow Beatty to play or they let Acuna get
I think Beatty deserves it, and I think he's the guy. He's the second baseman. I don't think there's a platoon option there with him. Let him get in there. Lefty, righty, I don't care. Let him get in there. Let him hit. That's the way I feel about him.
And that's what we talked about a few weeks ago, Lou. You got to start treating these kids like big boys now. Yeah. Take the kid gloves off, and if Beatty's going to be your second baseman, let him go.
It's like Vientos last year.
In this spring, he earned every right to play against anybody who's on the mound at this point. Let him play himself out of the position.
Well, Vin, just like you said in our previous episode, it's just like Brendan Sproat, right? You know, we said Brendan Sproat's already 24. He's ready to go. You got to give him the ball. You got to see what he has. Whether he has it or he doesn't have it. Now's the time to see if he's ready. So I agree. You got to take the training wheels off. You got to let these guys go, especially in areas of need. And with McNeil going down, second base is an area of need. And Beatty proves it time and time again in the minors. He just has to show it to us on the big league level.
Right.
I'm just curious to know if their only concern is him defensively, because we saw what he did at third base. He was great defensively at third. I just don't know if he's going to be able to translate that to second. Okay.
I mean, listen.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Brady. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say he did have some plays where he looked good at second, but he also had some errors. And I don't know if that's a concern for them, but like James said, like, let him go. Like, he's had a great spring. He deserves the second base job. And with McNeil hurt, it opens up that opportunity for him. So let him run with it.
Yeah, and I think they're going to let him run with it. Like James said, I'm not too worried about the defense at second. I mean, yeah, are there going to be some hiccups? Of course, there's going to be hiccups. But you know what? If his bat plays, he's going to be in the game. And I think we've seen that time and time again with Mendoza. If you're hitting, you're going to play. And if right out of spring training, Beatty's, I think he leads the whole minor league, the whole spring training in OPS.
I think he does.
Yeah. So he's definitely going to play opening day. So I think we can pretty much agree on the opening day lineup.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see. So I don't want to predict a starting rotation because we know what it's going to be right here out of spring training. So let's just thoughts and comments about, Mendoza starting 5.
Brady's ready to go.
And then the first 3 going versus Houston. I thought that was a little bit of an interesting
that's interesting.
mix there. But go ahead, Brady.
No, I thought it was really interesting. I guess they want to have guys like Peterson and Senga more innings down to the spring training before they actually get started in the regular season. But on paper, let's be honest, rotation does not look the greatest. And I've learned my lesson from last year. I'm going to give Stearns the benefit of the doubt because clearly they see something with these guys. Like Griffin Canning, who has been atrocious throughout the duration of his career, has come to the Mets, and with the pitching so-called lab, they call it, he's looked great.
I was going to talk about that later. That's
funny. So I'm giving them all the credit. And honestly, I wasn't a fan of the home signing at first, and seeing what he's done to convert to a starter, he looks like a guy who's going to be like Seth Lugo or Michael King. And I'm good with that. But once you get the guys like Minaya and Montas back into the rotation with Peterson and Senga and then Holmes, it looks pretty decent on paper. So I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I think it's a pretty big question mark, but like I said, benefit of the doubt, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we have a topic later, I think, about certain Mets things that I was going to bring up exactly what you just said. So we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Vin, any thoughts on the rotation?
Yeah, so I've been waiting for this because I forget who it was on the radio. I know like Sal Licata, Brandon Tierney have been talking about it, and I want to say it was Sal, and he ran down like the Mets rotation, and I think the wording that he used, if anybody has heard it, was very unfair. And Sal's a Mets fan, but the way he ran it down was like, Clay Holmes is your ace, McGill's your number 2, and that's so far from true, because I feel like that from opening day to the 5-man rotation, the Mets rotation is almost backwards right now.
Yep.
Where Senga and Peterson are the top of the rotation guys, and then Clay Holmes will be, I think, the 3. But let's not call McGill and Griffin Canning the 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Right.
Vin,
Yeah.
Vin, can I add to that?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, if Minaya and Montas were not hurt, Griffin Canning and McGill are probably options for the bullpen.
Absolutely. You're
Oh, no.
100% right.
So for Sal Licata to say it's unfair, or to say it's like this is your number 2, it's not
Right.
it's not necessarily true, because if everybody was healthy, the rotation's looking completely different going
Yeah.
into opening day.
Right. And I think, more people have been speaking up on this, like the MLB Network and all these writers. What does opening day really mean? It's cool to get the opening day start, but after that first start, now it's just a pitching rotation.
Yeah.
So who cares who gets the opening day start, who gets 2? Just go out there and pitch good. Hold the fort down, McGill and Canning, until Minaya and Montas are ready. And then I think we'll start to see, like Brady said, what this rotation is really capable of with the pitching lab. So I'm pretty excited about them. There's some really high upside with these guys.
So yeah, I've said it all off season long after the rotation was set, after all the signings and stuff. I think this is a good rotation for the regular season that can win you a division, that could get you past, the Phillies and the Braves, and can win you regular season games and win you a lot of games. My biggest concern was when you get to October and you're facing the best lineups and you're facing teams at their best. I'm hoping down the line, probably by the deadline, I'm gonna guess, that the Mets go out and that's their big move, is a top of the line guy that's going to start game 1 of a playoff series for you. I'm not saying that you have guys in there, Senga, Minaya, even now Clay Holmes, what he's shown, that can be that type of guy, but I would like to have somebody that's solidified like that, that's going to be in front of those guys, so that makes the depth of the rotation going into a playoff series look even better. We saw what David Peterson can do in the playoffs last year. We saw Minaya pitch great in the playoffs last year, and then if you add somebody in front of them, hopefully down the line, then you got something going for you. Overall, I think the rotation's fine. It's nothing to go home about and just but I do believe this is going to be a good rotation to win you a lot of games in the regular season. We'll see what they do.
And the really cool thing now is listen, it was a pipe dream to get Corbin Burns. We ended up getting the biggest free agent in Mets history, giving out the biggest contract with Soto. But the thing now that's amazing at this time with this roster and this regime and being a Mets fan is you have a brilliant guy as the head of the operations.
Yeah.
You have an owner that doesn't care about spending the money to put the best product on the field. And you have a manager that looks like it's going to be here for a long time.
That's all I hope
he's going to be here. So with all that, if they're right there at the deadline between Steve Cohen and David Stearns, it's nice to know that if there's an ace out there, we'll go get him.
We'll be in
on
on him.
I do want to add something to that, Ben, is like you said about Stearns and Cohen, is they're both Met fans, so to have these 2 guys running the show is great. And the other thing too, going back to the rotation, is like, yeah, right now it's a big question mark. Once you get the reinforcements of Minaya and Montas and the rotation looks good, then when you get later into the season, you have Brandon Sproat as a possibility. Then the rotation looks
That's a good point too.
looks star-studded. And like Tim said, if it goes to the deadline and there's a top caliber ace available, who I would like Sandy Alcantara, if that's a
who I'm
grab.
thinking too.
If that's a grab, then you try to do it, which I don't think the Marlins are against trading in division. They did it with Luzardo. Not saying Luzardo and Alcantara are the same, but I think they're open to taking the best possible offer, and we have the prospects to give.
Yeah, that's a great point, Brady, because if Sproat comes up and looks, he gives us what we're hoping for, and they got some of these other kids hopefully on the way up, now your rotation looks like, you got a few years into it.
Yeah.
So that's what's great. You could save money on the pitching and keep adding to the pieces around them, the bullpen, the lineup here and there. So that was a good point on Sprout.
I think the options for the rotation moving down the lines of the season is going to be really good.
I can't see why not.
The only thing I wanted to add to that was when speaking about the prospects, I think we're going to see more guys than just Sprout. I think that every team has to have a certain amount of pitches that are going to make a start to a couple of starts per season.
Right.
I think we're going to have an opportunity to see other guys come up just besides Sprout. Maybe they make a spot start here and there, but I think we'll see a guy like McLean, or if Tom continues to develop the way he's supposed to develop. Like I said, maybe he's just a typical call-up and they just need a spot start. But I think that we'll see other guys besides Sprout get an opportunity to come up this year.
Lou, can I piggyback on that? So one of the things I like, and I always felt like this when we had previous like GMs and president of baseball operations, was we didn't really see a lot of traction in the minors. I feel like with Stearns, we saw a lot of movement down there, a lot of guys getting promoted. So like you said, like you want to see guys get a spot start or get called up. So I think that's something we're going to see as a lot of guys do get up, if not from AA, AAA, or AAA to the major. Like that's going to be.
And listen, and I think that's how Stearns is going to manipulate the rotation from week to week, from month to month. I mean, like James said, if an opportunity comes to us to trade for a top line ace, yeah, I think we make that move. But to get to the deadline, to continue to compete, if he has to call somebody up for a weekend to give us a spot start, I don't see him doing it. Even in the lower levels of the minor leagues, like me and Vinny, a couple of us, we went to go see Ryan Clifford play when he was in Brooklyn. Ryan Clifford was struggling. They know that Brooklyn is a very hard place to play for hitters. It's a terrible hitter's ballpark. And what did they do? They moved him up to AA. His numbers didn't show that he was ready for AA, but they moved him up. And once he got to AA, he was hitting much better. So, yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Stearns he evaluates extremely well in the minor leagues, and he's able to make those moves without a problem. So it's definitely refreshing to see, because we know how our farm system has been for years.
You've been to Brooklyn before for games. What's the difference between Brooklyn going from single A to AA? Is it just the heavy winds or small park?
No. You definitely see an increase in talent in Brooklyn now than what it was previously. I mean, with the kids that are playing down in Port St. Lucie now, like the really young kids, like that's who would be in Brooklyn back in the day. Like you would see very, very early developmental baseball. Now it's extremely competitive. You have top prospects that start their Mets career in Brooklyn. So it's really awesome to see.
Just 2 years ago, me and Lou went to a game in Brooklyn, and they played the Staten Island Yankees. They played the Yankees affiliate, and we saw Jet Williams, we saw Clifford, we saw Nick Morabito, who was in camp with the Mets this year. We saw Spencer Jones. Yeah. So there's guys now that are in major league camps. So the talent's there. But I think, Brady, when you were asking about the wind, right field is the beach.
Yeah.
So that wind blows straight in from right field. Yeah. It's almost impossible. You got to shoot the ball out of a cannon to get it out to right field in Brooklyn.
Yeah. And you're right, Brady, no exaggeration. It's right field wall, the boardwalk, and then the ocean. Like there's a mile difference.
And they play a lot more night games, and that's when it's worse.
Yeah, true. So, night games. Yep.
They play so many night games there, and that's when that wind, especially near the water.
Forget it.
Yeah.
Great ballpark though.
It's
great time.
Tremendous.
Great ballpark.
Tremendous. We're gonna see a couple guys down there this year. Carson Ben's gonna be there. Jesus Baez.
Yeah, we're definitely going.
I'm excited to see Benj. Obviously, he was our latest draft pick, and he looks like he's rising through really fast. So that's a guy.
That's why you got to go early before they move him up.
That's a guy I'm looking forward to seeing in Brooklyn this year.
Yeah. All right, so that kind of like sums our preseason and spring training. I think we look good coming out of spring training. Obviously, the little injuries here and there, but even with those injuries, knock on wood, it was nothing over the top. So I think it's a cool time to switch to what the show is all about and our season preview and prediction show. So I want to start off with our predictions for our team, for the Mets, and then we'll broaden a little bit and we'll start talking about the major leagues across the country. So there's a whole bunch of topics that I want to discuss. I think we should just we'll rapid fire through them. Like we'll go around the screen. I'll ask the question. You guys give us your answer, and then we'll go down the list. And then when we're done with the list, we'll talk about whoever we want to talk about. All right. So our first prediction for the New York Mets this year, who's going to be the batting average leader for the Mets this year? We'll start with Brady.
I think Soto. The guy's numbers at Citi Field are off the charts. I think he's got a career batting average of 333. So to him actually be wearing a Mets uniform, he's gonna lead the team by an average, I think, by far.
Vin?
These categories are going to be like Soto, Soto.
Yeah.
Lindor, Soto. I pick Soto for batting
Soto,
average.
James?
I'm gonna pick Soto too. I'll give a little, I guess, dark horse answer. Here's a guy that he's turned away from hitting for average, I guess, but I'm hoping he comes out. He's so fired up already. I'll go Brandon Nimmo for a dark horse, kind of.
Okay. I thought you were going to say McNeil.
That's
Oh
what I
no,
thought that too.
I don't want McNeil on this team. So how am I supposed to say he's going to lead the team in batting average? I'm going to go Brandon Nimmo because I know Brandon Nimmo has taken the batting average approach kind of away from his game to, like, I guess, hit for more power, and now he's hitting fifth, so he's probably not gonna hit for average. But I'll throw it out there just to say somebody else besides Soto. But it's gonna be Soto.
All right, so home run leader. This is an interesting one because obviously we have some lineup. So Brady, home run leader.
Honestly, I think Alonso's going to lead it. I think after the year he had last year, I'm not saying it was bad, but this year I think the pressure's on for him again because I think he wants to opt out and gets a long-term deal with the Mets. And I think that with the home run record looming, I think he's going to kill it. I think 40 plus, maybe 45. I mean, the second guy I think is going to be Soto, but I'm going Alonso.
I'm going to say Alonso. I think with Lindor and Soto on base, you got to pitch to Pete.
Yeah, James.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. That's the one that came out to me more so than any of them. I think Alonso playing for that contract after a poor year of playing for a contract. Now he gets a second chance to do it. His game is the home runs. Him and Soto are going to be right there, but like I said, Pete's game is the home runs. So
I gave it to Pete as well.
Yeah.
So I think we all said Pete, RBI leader. Brady?
I'll go Pete.
Pete, Vin?
I'm not going to say Pete on this. I'm going to pick Pete to lead the team in home runs, but I'm going to pick Vientos to lead the team in RBIs. Because I think that fourth spot bumps him up in the RBI race over Pete.
He's breaking the single season Grand Slam record. Mark Vientos. I'll go Soto's hitting second. I'll go depends on that bottom of the lineup. Because if the bottom of the lineup can get on base more than we think, Soto's gonna get him in. I'll go too. Lindor's leading off, so it's weird.
Right.
Because you don't know. You hope he leads the team in runs. I'll say that. Or stolen bases. But I'll go Soto.
And I'm going Pete. I think we see Pete. I think we see a career high from Pete this year in RBIs.
I also want to add is what we've seen so far in spring training is Alonso using the opposite field, and when he does that, it's a thing of beauty. And if he could do what he did in 2022, hitting 270 and putting up the bombs, it's gonna be a great year for him.
Yeah.
As long as we get the juice balls back.
I mean, he's hitting behind. He's hitting behind probably the best hitter in baseball now. So it's
right.
Yeah.
It's like who knows?
Stolen base leader. This could be interesting because there's a couple of guys who can lead it.
So
right?
Brady,
I mean, it's tough because if Siri plays a lot over Taylor, I mean, it's possible, but I don't know how much he's gonna play. If it's a good platoon where it's just back and forth, probably won't be as much. So I'm gonna go Lindor.
That's a good point because I had the same feeling as Acuna and Beatty. If Acuna was to get the second base job, I feel like he could steal more bases. But because Brady said Lindor, I'm going to say Siri.
James?
I'm going to hope it's Lindor, but if Siri can get on first base, then I can see him definitely being up there. Acuna, who knows how much he's going to play? Because we got to see with McNeil coming back and obviously Beatty starting. So if Acuna was playing, then Acuna's the guy. It's weird because 2 through 6 is nobody's going to steal. So I'm gonna hope it's Lindor. I'm gonna say Lindor.
I'm as well. I think Lindor goes 30-30 this year. Moving on, wins leader. What pitcher leads the team in wins?
I'm gonna kind of throw it out there. I was gonna say Clay Holmes, but I'm gonna go David Peterson.
Vin?
I'm gonna say Peterson. I think Peterson leads the team.
Oh my man. Jay?
I swear we didn't discuss this before. I had Peterson in my. I had Peterson too because I had Peterson also. But if I want to go second, I'll say Senga second. But I think Peterson, yeah.
Pick. I think Senga has a very, very strong bounce back this year. And I think Senga kind of puts the Mets on notice in terms of, hey, I'm still here. In terms of a prospect that came from overseas and nobody really talks about him. A lot of people talk about Inganama out in Chicago and how great he's been, but I think Senga makes a name for himself this year, coming off the injury and then the late season performance in the playoffs.
My only concern with Peterson is we saw last year is he got into trouble, but he would always get out of it. So if he could avoid that trouble and just lower the pitch count and you can go deep into ball games. If they can score from which they have a potent offense, they're gonna score. The Mets are gonna have a lot of wins this year for the rotation. Let's just go with that.
And then James had a good point. These two next ones kind of go hand in hand. So ERA slash strikeouts leader. So ERA and strikeouts.
ERA, I will give it to Holmes, and then I think for strikeouts, I want to go Senga. I think what we saw in his rookie year, he had 200 plus strikeouts, and if he could stay healthy throughout the duration of the season, I think he could replicate that.
All right, so you wanted strikeouts and ERA?
Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand.
Strikeouts, I'm going to go Clay Holmes. ERA, I'm going to stick with Peterson.
I am in agreement with Vin. My strikeouts leader is Clay Holmes. And David Peterson for wins. Clay Holmes looked like he could strike out the world in spring, so I hope it translates.
Crazy.
I hope it translates. That changeup is nasty, bro. That changeup that was the key. That was the one key that was the one key we were hoping when we signed him, because we knew we were signing for a starter. But he had three pitches. So we're like, he needs to develop a change. And he did. And it looks disgusting. And that's the key right there. It's like saying his ghost fork in a way. So
I was just about to say it's a nice changeup, but it's no ghost fork. I go Senga back to back with ERA lead. I think Senga sweeps the board here.
You're giving Senga the Mets pitching triple crown.
Yes.
I hope so. Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, this is an interesting one. Me and Vin briefly talked before we went live. All-Star predictions. How many All-Stars will we have? And who are your Mets All-Stars for 2025? We'll start with Brady.
They can have 5+, to be honest with you. I mean, Soto, Lindor, Alonso, possibly Clay Holmes. He was an All-Star last year. Diaz. I mean, I think there's probably a little bit more, but those are my top right now. And I mean, you never know. I mean, you probably won't agree with me. You never know if Nimmo makes an appearance. You never know.
Here we go.
You never know I mean, he's only had like 30 spring at bats, but if he does what he did in spring training, brings that to the regular season, and you never know. But I'll stick with. I'm not gonna include Nimmo right now. I'll stick with my regulars, and we'll go from.
Vin, go ahead.
All right, so I picked 5.
Okay.
And I wrote this down before the show. I've not been writing during the show. So ready, Brady?
Go ahead.
Lindor, Soto,
Okay.
Vientos.
Oh, that's a good one.
David Peterson, and my 5th one is Brandon Nimmo. I think Brandon Nimmo does it this year. I think that 5th spot in the lineup behind those 4. I'm not the biggest Nimmo guy, and everybody knows that. He should have been an All-Star last year. The way he closed out the first half, whatever it was, the 2.5 months, he should have been an All-Star, and I think this year he gets it.
So is it going to be AL versus the Mets? Because it seems like a lot of Mets are going to the All-Star game this year.
It's going to be like the Royals that won. It's going to be like the Royals that one year with every single Royal. It was every single Royal and Mike Trout.
It's going to be the AL versus the Mets and Dodgers.
I'm going to go 4. We'll go Soto, Lindor. I'm going to go Clay Holmes, and I'm going to go Brandon Nimmo. He's getting me going, man. He's so fired up right now, and I just think he's going to come out. He's so fired up for Soto, and just he thinks his team. He knows how good this team could be, and I think he's going to be a big part of it. So I'll go Nimmo. I wanted to see him in the All-Star game one time.
James, I want to add to that because you said he's fired up.
Yeah.
His comments, like when I saw today on SNY about saying that the Mets, so like the big brothers in New York.
Yeah.
This dude is all Met. Like he bleeds the blue and orange. Like he bleeds blue and orange. Like the guy loves the fans, loves the city. I think he's gonna have a great year. I really do.
Dude, as long as he's on the field, and I just think also it's gonna help that you can platoon. You have a guy like Marte. You have a guy like.
Hold on.
Should I just continue with what I was saying? Or should?
Yeah. Go ahead, James. He'll jump back in.
All right. So I was just saying that it does help with Nimmo, obviously coming off the injury. You could DH Nimmo a few days. I think that's only going to help him. I think Nimmo is ready to go, and he's set for a great 2025.
I love the Nimmo talk. It seems like it's just a Nimmo podcast now. I love it.
I think Nimmo's going to be
I'm not on the Nimmo train. I'm going 4 All-Stars. I have the big 3: Soto, Lindor, Pete, and Senga.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
I could say 5 and throw Pete in there because I did pick him to lead the team in homers, so who knows? But first base is stacked NL position. So.
Yes, that is true. That is very true. All right, we are back. Sorry about that, guys. We had a little technical difficulties with our connection, but we are back. Just wrapping up our All-Star predictions for the season. Everybody gave their predictions. I don't know if mine got cut off. So I am going to say that the Mets are going to have 4 All-Stars this year. And I chose Soto, Lindor, Pete, and Senga. So wrapping up the All-Stars and moving on to our favorite prediction of the year. We have been doing this since the 2020 COVID season. Who will hit the first home run of the 2025 season? Brady, take it away.
Mr. Juan Soto.
Soto. James, you want to go?
Yeah, Mark Vientos is my pick.
Vientos. Big Vin?
I'm going to say Lindor.
Frankie. And I'm going with the dark horse here, totally out of left field, but he's going back home to where he started as a rookie. I'm going Jose Siri, hitting the first home run of the 2025 season.
Gonna hit the track so he can pimp it.
He's gonna hit. So I'm going Siri for first home run of the season. So we will see. We'll see who takes the crown for the first home run of the season, and then we'll just keep it going from year to year. Breakout contender. Who will be our breakout contender of the 2025 season?
I guess Beatty.
There's a lot of optimism in this episode.
Listen, I hope he proves me wrong, and he's got the opportunity to run away with it at second base for about 3-4 weeks until McNeil comes back. So let's see if he can do it.
All right. I'm going to say Clay Holmes. I think them giving him the shot in the rotation, I think Clay Holmes is going to break out and show why he deserves it.
Very cool. James?
Yeah, so we all hope for Beatty because that's just a consensus whole fan base team thing. Other than that, Brady mentioned the pitching lab earlier. This was my thing about breakout candidate of the year. I think it's easy to go to the pitching side of things because of how great we've shown the quote-unquote pitching lab can be. You guys are gonna laugh at me for this one. I'm gonna go Griffin Canning. I like what I've seen.
Honestly, I like it.
I like what I've seen in spring training. I think he's got good stuff. And I hope the Mets pitching lab can unleash something out of him, and maybe he stays in the rotation the whole year. And he's not just in there because of the injuries, and he has a solidified spot as either the fifth or when we go eventually to the 6-man rotation, he's going to be in there.
Lou, you take it, Paul Blackburn.
No. Brady knows how I feel about Paul.
That was good, Brady. That was good.
I'm going with our guy, Brett Beatty. I think Brett Beatty is due, and hopefully that Brett Beatty gets off to such a hot start to open the season. He just takes the job, and we don't have to see McNeil ever again.
That's my thing. That's my thing with Canning. I don't want to see Tyler McGill again.
Yeah,
shout out Tyler McGill. I know he follows Brady. I think so.
I'm past.
He does.
I'm past the McNeil era. I think the days of him hitting 300 are long gone. And I think if Beatty wins that second base job, like I said earlier, I don't need him to play Gold Glove defense there. Just make the routine plays, and I think Lindor will cover up the middle of the infield with his Gold Glove. So yeah, so I'm going Beatty. So switching topics and opening up a little bit more, looking at a wide lens and looking at the MLB as a total. To our MLB predictions for the season. We can go a lot of different directions here because we all have our favorite players across the league and stuff like that. So we'll go with the most valuable player. Who will win AL, NL, MVP?
AL, it's kind of a toss-up for me between Judge and Witt. I think with Soto not being there with the Yankees this year and a little bit of a different moves the Yankees made, like getting Bellinger, it might alter a little bit on Judge, but I'm going to give it to Witt. I think he's going to be up there, and NL, I'm going Soto.
I'm going to say Soto. I got it in the NL. The American League, I'm not going to pick Judge or Witt. I know those are the two favorites right now.
Can I guess who you're going to say? Can I guess who you're going to say?
Who?
You going to say Jordan?
I'm not going to say Jordan. This is a guy that I love his game, everything he does. I'm going to pick Jose Ramirez to win the MVP.
Actually, let me. Actually, 1 second, Lou, I'm changing my prediction real quick. Actually, I'm going Vlad. He's up contract year. He's going to have an MVP year. I'm going Vlad. Vlad and Soto.
Vlad and Soto. Hopefully they're teammates next year.
So I'll start with the AL. So since Vinny said my guy. I was saying Jose Ramirez. I think he's going 40-40 this year. My dark horse pick, and he's going to come up. His name's going to come up again for something else we're going to discuss. Jarren Duran is my dark horse pick for AL MVP. NL MVP, I'm going Ketel Marte.
Okay.
I think Ketel Marte is going to go off this year, and we'll talk about the Diamondbacks later. So, yeah.
My AL MVP is going to be Bobby Witt Jr. I think he edges out Judge this year, like Brady said. Soto not being there, I think Bobby Witt runs away with the MVP this year. And my NL MVP is going to be Ohtani. It's going to be Ohtani. Yeah, if he can do anything on the mound, even if it's closing games, what he does offensively plus whatever he gives them on the mound, I can't see them not getting the MVP. My only question is, and I want to get your guys' take on it, similar to the trend in the NBA, I feel like the NBA, like when somebody wins the MVP consecutively for a long time, I feel like they always give it to the other guy. At what point do the voters for MVP say, okay, this is who Ohtani is. We know how great he is. He's a great player. But a guy like this had a monster season. Let's give him the MVP. Because if we wanted to call it, like, Jordan could have won MVP every year, but he didn't. So, like, at what point do we start to see, like, this is who Ohtani is, but so-and-so had a great year. He won. He's our MVP this year. Can we see that with Soto this year?
I don't think you do, honestly. I think
You
what Ohtani...
You think Ohtani's just going to run with it every year?
I mean, if he's doing what he did last year, I mean, he put up 50-50. Honestly, the season was a little bit longer. He could have went 60-60, to be honest with you. I think what he does is unmatched. Nobody can do what he does. He's basically our generation of Babe Ruth, if not better. So I think, honestly, if you like had Ohtani what he did last year and somebody was close and you don't give it to him, it's kind of like an outrage. So honestly, I don't think it's going to be like the NBA where you hand it off to somebody else. I think it's going to be the guy who has the best stats. And also, they talked about it last year about like MVP being much more than just hitting. Like you look at like Lindor, what he did. I mean, Lindor is a great leader in the locker room. I mean, do you factor that in? I don't know what Ohtani does for the Dodgers in terms of locker room leadership, but offensive, if you're talking about an offensive standpoint, it's obviously got to go to him. I don't think they change it.
The only thing I want to challenge Brady on that, and this it's not just Brady. It's pretty much the whole baseball universe right now. Ohtani had an unbelievable season last year. It is what it is. It was a record-breaking season all around. But this thing that we don't see anybody do what Ohtani does, let's not forget that the year before, Ronald Acuna went 40-70. So 50-50 is unbelievable. Right. But Ronald Acuna, I'll argue, had just as good or a better season than Ohtani did last year, and people just brushed that away. To answer your question about comparing the NBA to the MLB, number one, you said LeBron's name wrong. You said Jordan.
I know. I just said if Jordan.
No, I know.
I didn't say. We're not getting into that topic. I'm just saying. when Jordan was making his run, he could have easily won the MVP.
No, absolutely. No, yeah. I agree with you. I think, like, it goes deeper into it. Like Brady said with Lindor, what he did for the Mets. Do they start to take into account, even if Ohtani went into in that second half of the year a 2-3 week slump? You had Betts, Freeman, you had Teoscar Hernandez, all these guys around him where if Lindor went into a slump, the Mets had really no wiggle room.
Right. Yeah.
And he carried them into the playoffs and through to the NLCS. So it's going to be interesting. Hopefully they do start to take that into account a little bit.
Let me ask you guys a question real quick. So if Ohtani had the same year like he did last year and he does the same thing, but he comes back and pitches horribly, 4 ERA, whatever it is, it's just not as good as what we've seen in the past. Does the MVP still go to him? Are you factoring in his pitching stats?
I think you factor in the pitching. If the pitching is
hard, I think
you
have to. Because
if the pitching isn't good, if the pitching isn't good, then
right, he's a two-way player whose value isn't there on the mound.
Well, see, the advantage is if Ohtani goes through, let's say they go 4 times through the rotation, 5 times, and Ohtani doesn't have it, they got 17 other starters waiting behind him. Right. So they could very easily say, you know what, Ohtani's a DH now. Maybe we'll throw him in the bullpen like Brady said. Maybe we'll see him close games just for the hell of it, because why not? But they could essentially go with a 9-man rotation there.
To go on to the point of what Lou was saying, I think this year kind of might be an exception to that because Ohtani's pitching again. And they're going to be like, he's hitting and now he's back pitching. And so that's why we gave him the MVP. So I feel like this year, just in general, is just that's what it is. I picked Ketel Marte because I just don't want to see Ohtani win another MVP. I like Ohtani. What he's doing for the game is amazing. But just to say somebody else's name, that's why I throw out a guy like Ketel Marte, or you guys throw out Soto or somebody like that. But I think this year is a complete exception. They're going to say, oh, he's back pitching. Let's just give him the MVP because he hit 40 bombs and he pitched to a 3 ERA.
They have an infatuation with the Dodgers across the MLB.
Yeah, I mean, and they're gonna be the best team in baseball. So it's like, it's what it is.
So next topic, ALNL.
Did you tell us who you picked?
Yeah, I said Witt and Ohtani.
Okay, that's how it started.
Right. Yeah. So home run leaders. Who is going to be the ALNL home run leader?
I think for AL it's going to go to Vlad, and I think for NL will go to Ohtani.
Okay, Vin?
AL, I'm going to stay with Judge. I just feel like you could throw him 5 strikes, in a however many game stretch, and he could hit 4 out. So I'm going to pick Judge. And in the NL, it pains me to say, but I'm going to pick Schwarber.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
AL. So the thing with Judge with me is I think it just depends also who's around him or how the people around him perform, because they have obviously a question with the leadoff spot and Bellinger's going to be behind him. So we got to see if Bellinger can become what he was or somewhat similar to what he was. So with that being said, I'm going to go Jordan. And for NL's tough because I feel like it could be somebody who's not even in the MVP race, like an Alonso, who I obviously won't. I don't think will be in the MVP race, but he could easily lead the league in home runs. So I'm gonna. Matt Olson did it a couple of years ago. That's another example,
Yeah.
The guy wasn't going to be the MVP and he led the league in home runs. So it could be like just anybody crazy, like weird, like O'Neal Cruz can do it now. I'll go.
You love taking forever.
I'll go Otani. I'll go Otani. I don't know. NL's so weird. NL's weird. I'll go Otani again.
I'm going Judge and Alonso. I think the home run crown stays in New York this year.
Yeah.
All right, batting title. Who wins the batting title for AL and NL?
I think for NL, Arias is going to do it again. And I think for AL, it's going to go to Witt.
I actually have the same too.
Did you really?
As Brady, yeah. Yeah, because Bobby Witt he's unbelievable. But Brady, to your point before with your MVP pick, that's a guy that could be up there. He's not like your prototypical 45 home run and hit 260. Don't be surprised if you see Vlad around 330, 335 this year. But I'm going to pick Arias and Witt.
I picked Ira.
If Arias wins again, that would be 4 straight, wouldn't it?
Think so.
I think so.
Unbelievable.
With McNeil sprinkled in there.
Guy does nothing else. But all right.
I'm going Vladdy and Arias. I picked Vladdy to win the AL batting title.
I'm gonna go Ketel Marte for the NL because I think that's gonna have a lot to do with him winning the MVP. And I'll go Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Contract year, he's going for it, man.
We didn't discuss this beforehand, though. I didn't know you guys were gonna pick.
Oh yeah, no. I like Vlad.
idea.
I don't want to go like Witt or.
No, I have my paper here. I picked Vladdy before. Yeah.
Maybe Mike Trout.
I think DJ LeMay finds it again.
Mike
And
Trout.
DJ LeMay.
DJ LeMahieu is bad.
Bro.
Mike Trout was the other guy I was thinking of. So yeah. So Vlad or Trout? I'll go Vlad though.
All right. I love this topic, so this is gonna be fun.
Here we go.
AL, NL, stolen base leaders.
So can I
Yeah,
Go
like-
ahead, James. Yeah, go ahead, James. Yeah, go ahead.
So NL, it's not even gonna be close. It's gonna be Ellie.
Yes.
It's not even gonna be close.
Unanimous?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, yes?
It's gonna
I
be
say
Ellie.
Ellie.
Okay.
And
All right.
I said this guy's name earlier. I said I was going to bring him up again. I got Jarren Duran in the AL. I think he's my dark horse for MVP. Stolen base is going to help him. He's a guy who can go 30-30 for sure this year. So, Jarren Duran.
Ellie, I'm sorry, man. Go ahead.
No, Brady, you could go.
Oh, no, I mean, like we said, Ellie for NL and then for AL, I think Witt. I think Witt's gonna lead a lot of things this year, just in terms of categories.
Ben?
Yeah, I want to say Witt, but yeah, I guess I'll just stay with. He's just so good. It's hard to pick against him for some of these categories.
He's a 5-tool
right
guy,
there.
man. He's a 5-tool guy. He does everything.
Yeah.
So it's like,
We all went Ellie.
yeah.
I think Ellie's going to take a huge step this year.
I have him
think
top 3 in MVP.
I love that guy's unbelievable. He's really something else.
You know what? Yeah, I'll stay with Ellie. I forgot about I'll stay with Ellie. I was gonna throw a dark horse just to be different and say Acuna.
If he
but
comes
he'll be
back,
out for the
who
first
knows?
month
He's
or so,
been-
so-
and
He's going to be out till mid-April.
And who
Yeah.
knows if
End of April.
they want to steal him? He might get on first.
I
And
think-
I don't think
just stay there.
I think Acuna's just a guy you let go.
I actually heard, I was listening to a Mets podcast and they had his brother on, Luis, and they said that Luis Angel and Ronald have a bet every year to see who's going to win, who's going to have more stolen bases. And
Oh,
Ronald,
really?
Ronald told him, "You're going to win this year because I'm actually not stealing that many bases this year."
Yeah,
Because
he's
they had to
good.
pick Acuna.
Yeah.
yeah.
That works out for us if he gets on against Diaz.
So yes,
No,
so I said,
I could steal versus him with my leg broken.
Vinny, let's see if you can get this. So I said Ellie. We all said Ellie for NL. Vinny, in MLB The Show, Diamond Dynasty, who is one guy that you love playing with right now?
AL.
Are you gonna make me say the Yankee?
Yeah.
Oh,
Jazz
God.
I think he touches 40 stolen bases this year for the Yankees.
How
Hey,
many?
listen,
20.
Wait, you said 40?
Yeah.
He's got to get on base to do that.
Does,
Well,
does,
listen,
Jose, does Jose
he
Siri
gets
get
on,
on
he
base a
can
lot?
That's different. Series better.
All right, I'll be okay. I'm not,
and to your point,
Okay, okay.
it's not like Ellie's a high average guy. Ellie just gets on and runs.
Yeah.
Jazz will lead the AL in
All
stolen
right.
bases this year. You like Jazz? ALNL Cy Young winners. ALNL Cy
Can I
Young.
go first on this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it hurts me to say this, because it's two guys that I wanted this offseason. The AL, I'm going to say Crochet wins the Cy Young. And the NL, I'm going to say Corbin Burns wins it. And I wanted one of the two of them on this Mets team. I think it would have changed everything going into the year.
Of course. Brady, do you want to go?
Cy Young. Honestly, I think Alcantara for NL. AL, you might have to come back to me. Come back to me.
All right.
So I'll go.
Jay?
NL, I got Paul Skeens running away with it.
Oh, that's a good one.
Paul Skeens.
That's a
Paul
good one.
Skeens is like, so the thing with Cy Young is I look at MVP. I like to take an MVP on a team that's going to make the playoffs. But Cy Young, we've seen it with the Mets 3 times the past in the 2010s. The team could stink, but you can have a guy get out there every 5th day and just absolutely shove. So the Pirates, I think, will be better than what they have been because of the starting rotation. But Skeens he's going to run away with it, I think. My dark horse for that would be Logan Webb. I think Logan Webb finally takes a step forward and becomes the true ace of the San Francisco Giants.
And he's got Verlander there to help him.
The only thing is that division's really tough. That's the only thing.
Is.
What stinks about that division is the worst team in that division is Colorado. And pitching in Colorado is
right. Yeah.
is horrible. So he's got to hope he faces Colorado at home, I guess. But AL, I'm going to go Garrett Crochet. And if you want me to do a dark horse on that as well, Cole Reagans from the Royals as well. I don't know if that's a dark horse necessarily because he's one of the better pitchers in the AL, but that's my other guy. But Garrett Crochet.
Lou, you want to go?
No, go ahead.
I'm going to add for my AO, DeGrom.
I could see DeGrom winning comeback player of the year, but I don't know about
I'm gonna go. If DeGrom goes healthy, all 30 starts, and doesn't get hurt, I think he's got a shot.
Love the ground. I'm gonna go Crochet for the NL,
Right.
and I'm going Zach Wheeler for the NL.
If this comes back and we're all right, I'm clipping this and sending it to the Instagram chat of everybody who shit on me and James for not wanting to get
Garrett Crochet.
Hello.
I wanted Garrett Crochet. He was the second player I wanted the most of anybody in the offseason, obviously Soto, and then it was Crochet. I wanted him more than anybody besides Soto. And
James,
it sucks that we don't have him, but I understand. It is what it is.
James, can I ask you a question? Would you have traded Acuna for Crochet? Because I would have.
I would have.
Okay.
Yep.
I would have.
I think me and Vinny talked about this on a previous episode. Is this going to be the trend that we see with Stearns? Is he going to be willing to break down his farm system to go and get that big guy?
You got to do it at least once, I think.
Me and Vinny both agreed that when the guy is there and you have the opportunity to put the team over the top, you have to go ahead and make the move.
A good example of that, because in 2022 at the deadline, the Mets played it safe. They didn't even go all in. They didn't even play it safe, bro. They went backwards. That's a good point. Like they traded these mediocre prospects from Vogelback. Actually, Vogelback was Holderman, but Michael Givens, that's not the deadline.
If you're get the team back,
if you were in the race to the division, and if it's close, within 5 games, you have to go all in. And that's how the luxury to deploy prospects to other teams because their farm system is considered one of the best in baseball.
Yeah.
Well, because you also know Philly and Atlanta are going to do it. Look a few years ago when Atlanta won the World Series when Acuna tore his ACL. A week later, they added 3 or 4 guys. Jorge Soler being the big one during the playoffs helped win a World Series.
Eddie Rosario was the NLCS MVP.
Eddie Rosario,
Eddie Rosario,
Jock Peterson hit big home runs for them in the playoffs.
So you got to do it. And the thing with Crochet was he's a 25-year-old lefty with electric stuff. He's not 33. He's not 34. But listen, hopefully during the season, if that's the need, they go out and do it.
I understand the Red Sox had the better package. That's everybody's counterpoint to us really wanting Crochet. But still, he was the guy.
But that's why I feel like, James, if it would have been at the deadline last year or early in the offseason or whatever the case is, you don't even give Boston that chance.
The deadline last year was perfect because it was no team wanted him because of the extension thing. And that was the chance to be all right, screw it. Let's do it. Let's get him. Let's bring him in and we'll talk extension if you want. Because we have the owner that to be all right, let's do it. Obviously, the biggest question was with him last year is he going to be healthy? And he's 25 years old. His best baseball is ahead of him. Everybody keeps you want to look back to what he did, fine, I guess, but look at when he's on the mound. His stuff is disgusting. He's one of the most electric pitchers, I think, in baseball.
I agree
25
with
years
you
old,
100%.
best baseball ahead of him. That's the guy you want to go get.
And
You
to go-
don't want to always trade for what they've done. You want to trade also for how good they will be, and he's the guy.
To go what James said too is that even if we traded for him and we were not able to get an extension, you have 2 years of control for him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's you see what the Padres, or even though the Padres haven't had much success, they could have beat the Dodgers last year. But you see what they're doing with Cease, for example. They traded for him, and they know they have only however much longer with him. They only have one more year now. But
And
at
King.
the time, but King was like that was different. I'm talking about like the top of the line type guy.
Go ahead, Lou.
So that kind of puts a wrap on our Major League Baseball predictions. So now if we want to switch over to standings and World Series champion. So we'll start off in our division, and we'll talk a little bit about who will win or what do you see panning out in the NL East. So if somebody wants to jump in, and then I'll give my take at the end.
I'll have a question for you. Did you want to do Rookie of the Year?
Sure.
We'll just
So I'll go
we'll throw it out there. We'll just throw it out there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to go. I like Cam Smith a lot, and I'm going to go Rookie Sasaki for NL.
I'm gonna go if he comes up and has enough time, Roman Anthony. But Christian Campbell is starting with the team, so I don't know. But I like Roman Anthony if he has the time. Cam Smith is also really good. And NL, I think it's gonna be Dylan Cruz.
I'm just going to throw out a name in the AL, and I hope he wins the Rookie of the Year. Max Muncy
Yeah.
on Oakland.
All right.
Shout out to my boy Max making the
Man, you got
Oakland A's opening day
to do
roster.
it. Man, you got to.
Lou,
So you mentioned the standings. I'll go first.
I guess I'm not giving my Rookie of the Year.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
that and sports cards. Sports cards, man, needs to give his Rookie of the Year
Thanks.
position. His prediction.
Yeah, Lou.
my the only question that I have here is he, I don't know how many games he played last year, but if he didn't play, if he's still eligible for it, I think he wins it this year. For the NL, I'm taking Jordan Lawler as
He's
the
eligible.
NL. He is eligible. So I take him as the NL MVP, NL Rookie of the Year. And then for the AL, Vin, you're going to talk about this team in a little bit. I'm going Jackson Jobe as
I like
AL.
I like it.
Rookie
I like that.
of the Year.
I like that. a
I
lot.
like that.
Thanks, Vin. Appreciate it.
All
So yeah, so we can go ahead and jump because we're at a half hour plus whatever we did before.
All right.
So let's jump over to NLE standings. So if whoever wants to take that.
I'll just say it quick. I won't really break down every team. We know every team.
Yeah, we know the team.
I'll go from 5 to 1. Marlins last place, Nationals 4th, Phillies 3rd, Mets 2nd, and I think the Braves win the division.
I'm the exact same 1 to 5.
So I'll go. Marlins are going to be dead last. Nationals. I think the Braves end up in 3rd. Phillies 2nd. Mets 1. I think between the 3 teams, Phillies, Mets, and Braves, it's going to be very close.
Right.
So whoever ends up taking it, if it's the top of the division or they're 2nd or 3rd, it's going to be super close.
I think if the Braves are fully healthy, if they get Strider back fully healthy, they get Acuna back fully healthy, I think they win the division. But like Brady just said, I think those top 3, it's going to be a dogfight to the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And then do you got? I know you said you had the same as Vin, but do you think this is the best division in baseball in terms of just competitiveness?
100%. And I think in a couple of years, the Nationals will be right there with all.
Yeah.
With all
I agree.
I think they're going to start this year. They're going to be
They're
not
going to be a
close,
tough team.
but
They're going to be a tough
yeah.
team to beat this year.
Yeah,
they're going to be a sleeper.
Yeah.
Sleeper.
They're going to be,
Yeah.
you're not going to be they'll make mistakes at the end. They're going to be a young team, I guess, but they're going to be a tough team to go in when you play them and think you're going to mop the
They'll
floor
be
with them.
like in 07 when we had to beat the Marlins at the end of the year and they were
Yeah.
that pesky, annoying team.
It'll be like
That'll be
that.
the Nationals
Mhm.
this year.
I agree. All right, so let's transfer to division winners. Who's going to win each division? Can I go first on this?
Yeah, go
you
ahead.
get it.
All right. We'll start with the AL. I love this team. They're probably my second favorite team besides the Mets.
I know what you're going to say.
I've been saying this for probably 2 years now. I think Boston wins the AL East. I think the Tigers win the Central, and I think the Rangers win the West.
I got all 3. Same.
Yeah.
I also have all 3 same way. I'll talk about the AL Central when I go. But
Honestly, Lou, the more I think about it, because my prediction has been Baltimore, but they did lose Burns and Santander. So I think, honestly, yeah, I think the Red Sox are going to end up winning that. I think for the Central, Tigers, and for the West, I think the Astros are going to do it. I think the Astros. I think they still find a way despite losing Bregman and Tucker.
Lou, NL?
Okay. NL, I'm going to go Atlanta. I'm going to go the Chicago Cubs are going to win the Central and the Dodgers.
I got the same 3 again.
I Go ahead, James.
NL East, we said had the Braves, but NL Central was a toss-up for me between the Cubs and the Reds. I do like what the Reds are doing. Obviously, Ellie De La Cruz, I think, takes a step to being a superstar in the league. It's just a matter of, the pitching, Hunter Green, Lodolo, guys like that. But their bullpen kind of scares me too. So I'm going to go with Cubs. I think that team is one of the best defensive teams in baseball, by the way, the Chicago.
And you know what's going to suck about that? One of their best players is going to be PCA.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That team defensively is unbelievable.
He could lead the league.
They might have three or
He could.
They might have 3 or 4 Gold Gloves on that team. Yeah, and then the NL West.
And we had Javi Baez.
NL West, we don't need.
Bias.
NL West, we don't really need to discuss much, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I'll talk about that when we talk about the wild card teams.
I'll go Dodgers, of course. I think they're going to break the Mariners' win record, to be honest with you.
It's
For
definitely
me,
possible.
It's definitely possible. I mean, look at their rotation. It's ace after ace. For the Central, I think the Brewers are still up there, but the Cubs did have a good offseason, so I might just give the edge to Milwaukee, even though they lost Evan Williams. They traded him. And I'm taking with the Mets for the NL East.
All right. All right, so we have 2 more topics, and then we're going to wrap up. World Series predictions. Who will be in the World Series, and who wins the World Series?
I'm dying to see a Mets World Series, so I'm going to pick us.
Yeah.
And I actually think that it's going to be an 86 rematch. I think it's going to be Mets over the Red Sox.
Here's my question. Do the Mets knock off the Braves, or do the Braves stumble in the playoffs?
I don't care. I don't care how the hell we beat them. I don't care who we beat. Just beat them. Just get there. And I want to go to a damn parade.
Dude, I'm right there with you, man.
And could you imagine if we all get to go to the parade this year and it's Soto's first year as a Met after leaving the Yankees?
I just want a parade so bad. I want to know
But,
the feeling and everything, man. I just...
I mean, I'll be honest. I was watching the Pursuit documentary on Soto, and when I was seeing the ending of part 2 on how they got Soto here and hearing Alex and Steve and David, I was thinking to myself, "Is like, yeah, I'm gonna cry when this team wins the World Series."
Oh,
And I've always fantasized this on like where I'm gonna be because I thought about possibly being with you guys or being with my dad.
I always think
and
that
I'm always
too,
like,
man.
I don't know how I'm gonna react. I think I'm gonna go black out. Maybe I don't know.
I'll cry.
I'm going to cry. If that
I'll
ever
jump in the
happens,
line.
I'm going to bawl my eyes out. I don't care who's around me. I don't care where I am.
Yep.
On full-fledged
Yeah,
tears, I might go in the corner and start crying. I don't, dude. It's
So with that
I
said,
think about it all the time.
So with that said, of me possibly crying, I think it's going to end up being Dodgers in the World Series, unfortunately. So I think the Dodgers, and it's tough for me. I mean, it's a good point. The Red Sox are definitely up there.
That's
So
my matchup. I have
I
Dodgers
think-
Boston.
I think I'm going to go Dodgers Red Sox. I really think the Red Sox going to prove a lot of people wrong this year.
Me too.
I'm just going to pick the Mets because what Vin said, because I want one.
I want one.
I want a freaking parade, man. That's it. Who they're going to face, I'm going to go with the Texas Rangers for the sake of, I said the Rangers are going to win the division. Jacob deGrom versus the New York Mets in the World Series. Let's do it. And let's tee off on him. I want it. I want it all. So that's my World Series prediction. Mets Rangers. Mets win the World Series. I'm sorry, fans.
We always end this show, and we always predict what the Mets win total is going to be. It is the last topic we always discuss at the end of each of our prediction shows. So, real quick, how many wins will we have?
I want to go first.
Ben?
I want to go first on
Oh,
this, if you don't
my
mind.
bad.
Yeah,
All right,
you go first, James.
So I see this trend every single year with Mets fans. We have a down year, we're going to win 70 games the next year. We have a great year, we're going to win 100 games the next year. It happens every year. So I'm going to be realistic. They had 89 wins.
62 wins.
They had 89 wins. We had 89 wins last year that got us a wild card. I have them in the wild card. So I'm going to go just straight 90 wins. 90 wins and a wild
That's
card.
what I said. That's
I have
exactly what I said.
I have 92.
It's crazy because I wrote down 91.
So we're
All right,
all
we're
on
on
the
the same-
same thing.
Same realm.
I said 90. I said
I gotta
90 wins,
give-
but on the
I
head.
give him some benefit of the doubt, obviously having a good year last year and bringing in
90
Juan Soto.
90
So
90 wins is a great season
Yeah.
in our division.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I feel like all the 3 teams will all be around the same win total. And then you got to take into consideration how I expect the 3 of them to beat each other up all year.
yeah.
It has been the 2025 season preview show for the 4th or 5th year we've been doing this, I believe.
I think it might be it's the 5th because we did our prediction starting in COVID. And
Yeah.
And Luke, could you imagine the Mets win the World Series this year, the first year with Shea Letts?
Yeah.
Jeez,
Say less to the moon.
we need a contract from someone.
So we want to thank everybody for the continued support of the Shea podcast. Thank you so much to James and Brady for jumping on this evening. Vin, awesome time as always. Please remember to subscribe on the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that like button on all the videos. We can't thank you guys enough. It really means a lot. The YouTube channel is off to a great start. And like always, guys, let's go Mets. And we will see you next time from the Shea podcast. Good night, guys.
GM.